Hey, I'm Carl, your host from Beyond the Toolbox, and today I'm here with Nate Recalde. Is that how I say your last name?
Yes, sir. Right on. Good stuff.
You're
Thanks
the
for having me
eight-figure
over.
roofer with zero sales reps. You've been about 2 years in, and you also used to be the VP of a national $180 million a year roofing company. So I definitely have a lot to pick apart here. Nate, I'm very glad to have you on, man.
No, thanks for having me. It's kind of funny how a little background of how we even met, which is funny, is through LinkedIn. And I've been told by people all the time, like, "Why are you not on LinkedIn? Why are you not on LinkedIn?" And then I finally joined, years later, and found out, wow, this is a whole world that I had no idea about in terms of making some cool connections out there. So it's interesting that we met that way. So.
Yeah, and shoot, I want to talk a little bit more about Cover Shield. You even got the hat on. Tell me a little bit more about Cover Shield. I mean, I kind of
Yeah.
know you're the eight-figure roofer with zero sales reps, but tell me about it. What do you guys do?
Man, it's a cool story in itself, right? But Cover Shield, we're a roofing slash general contractor, and recently got into mitigation as well. So we're kind of a turnkey service provider to homeowners. So that's kind of like a quick description of what we do and what we're about. We're out of the entire state of Florida, and we just recently launched parts of Texas as well. So super exciting to see where that takes us there.
How'd you guys come about, by the way? Like, how did this start?
So interesting story. So me and my business partner, Ed, he couldn't join, but we met, funny enough, back in 2020 when I first got in the industry, coming from a hospitality background. So I used to run a restaurant here in Orlando locally. So 2020 came around, you know that the shutdown happened with COVID, and like, look, we all got bills to pay. So what was the next
Right.
move? So funny enough, I had a buddy of mine posting these like crazy, wrapped lifted trucks on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm like, how the hell are you even buying these things right now in this market? And he's like, I just knock doors and I sell insurance on the roofing side. And I'm like, interesting. I'm seeing if I could be pretty good at that. Could you, maybe teach me the way? And that's kind of how my career started. And then funny enough, fast forward a year later, I joined another company to run their ops. And my business partner also joined that same company to start its own IA firm, which is like independent adjusting, underneath a contractor. So he asked me to actually come work for him, and he became my boss for the next few years. And we grew an AI firm for several insurance companies here in Florida. So we just did a ton of inspections for insurance companies. And it kind of just led into this industry that we now know as preferred vendors, which is kind of our specialty now, you know what I mean? But back then it was unheard of. And we kind of built something from scratch and have grown that company, massively. And fast forward a few years later, I went off on my own, and through mutual connections, I was able to get a hold of someone that purchased a $100 million company that was national. And he asked me to come on to be his VP of ops, and then eventually a VP of the company, and kind of see if we could fix that company. And it scaled to $180 million a year. And kind of a crazy story. Don't want to ramble too much, but it shut down all the way. And it kind of like, again, kind of like COVID happened. It was an unexpected turn of events. And I was like, look, I know how to build systems. I love operations. And at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm like, I think it's time to start my own company. Funny enough, my boss from back in the day, Ed, I called him up and I'm like, look, I'm interested in this idea of starting my own company. I'd love to either be a subcontractor to you or see what else we can do together. We ended up partnering up instead of doing that, and now that's how Cover Shield was born. It was just through a single phone call, calling my boss from a few years ago, like, hey man, what do you think about this idea? So that's kind of how Cover Shield was born. And we launched officially like early last year.
Okay. So then I'm also kind of curious. Let's dive into it. Like, I keep mentioning the eight-figure roofer, zero sales reps. How do you do it? Like, you mentioned preferred vendor. Is that like how you get?
Well, it's kind of funny you're mentioning that, but it's like zero sales reps, right? And it's like, what is even a sales rep? If you're just thinking of your normal roofing company or general contracting company, you're probably thinking of like your door knockers
Hmm.
or people that are just 1099 commission only, go out there, get money, and just bring us the leads. We'll knock it out for you, and we'll pay you 50% of profit or 10%, whatever your structure is. Look, that's
Hmm.
just now how I view how a company could scale. I view it more as like, what's an opportunity to bring proper business developers into the business and proper people that could execute on big contracts, right? And what I mean by that is like myself, my business partners, and people that come into our company, I treat it as like, look, this is an IYB mentality environment. What I mean by IYB, it's your business. So like people that I bring in, I almost bring them in as owners, and I'm like, look, go out there and bring big contracts such as insurance companies, builders, other construction companies that can't handle their volume. How can we come in and be that supplemental work for them to get these large contracts? And that's kind of the space that we came in. So, just from connections over the years, we partner with several carriers all over the state of Florida. And basically what we do is work directly with them. So they just send us the work to make sure that they are getting taken care of by a vetted contractor rather than a door knocker, per se. So I guess you could say like the way that the company scaled was through partnerships instead of door knockers or buying a bunch of leads and just having sales guys that are 1099 just run the leads, right? Which is still a great important part of the industry, but you got to run it the right way. And the way that we scaled our company was more through, proper partnerships in the industry.
This sounds like at least most roofers I've talked to, this sounds like most roofers like wet dream, like insurance companies are saying, I want to work with you. Here's the work. This sounds like the dream for a lot. Like, can you go into like, how did you get these relationships with these insurance companies, or was it all back when you had the AI software and you were the preferred vendor, or how'd you do it?
You know what? It's kind of like everybody knows somebody, right? And it's like,
Right.
there's no way that I could be like, go to this headquarters in another state and be like, can I talk to your owner, or can I talk to the VP of marketing, or talk to the vendor manager? It's not that easy, right? It's like build the proper partnerships and like be there to help. So it's like, how could I tell you how to make the introductions? It's more of like, you got to talk to people, right? Like talk to the adjusters that are on the field, and then they have managers. So it's like, how do you get to those managers and eventually get to the VPs and the owners and executives of these insurance companies? It kind of takes legworks, and it takes knocking down doors and doing right by the customer, because you got to think every roof that you perform on, the homeowner has to have an insurance company, right? Because they have to have homeowners insurance. So it's as easy as like, get a list of the insurance companies customers that you've already worked with before. And it's like, do those customers have a vendor program, or do those people, or like the insurance companies itself, do they go through a third party to get work done? Or do they just basically say, look, we don't work with any vendors? And it's like, well, then great, but get those answers. And I feel like knock those doors down. Same environment as like, dude, you got to figure out your path and figure out how to get to the right people. You know what I mean? And don't be afraid to cold call. Don't be afraid to email. Don't be afraid to ask. I think that that's what sets us apart, is we have gone through doors that like we can't even imagine getting in front of the people that we have, but it's a blessing. And then at the end of the day, it's what I've learned about either the insurance industry or the builder industry, or you're going to probably say the same thing, the roofing industry. Everybody kind of stays in the same circle, which is nice. So a perfect example, you talk about sales reps, right? One sales rep out of one company might not be a little happy with either the lead sources that they're getting, or they don't want a door knock, or they're not happy with their commission structure. So they'll just jump to the next roofing company and work for those people, right? And it's kind of similar in the insurance industries and builder industries, where the people kind of love the industry that they're in, but sometimes they kind of jump ship to different parts. But it's like, if you didn't know that person, how would you have gotten the connection to the next insurance company when they jumped ship? You know what I mean? And I think that that's important to know too, is like, establish the relationships that you have, and know that at any moment these people might get a promotion to another insurance company. But like, that's why I don't ever say like, don't diminish or like judge anybody in the roles that they're in. I think that everybody can use a contractor in any sort of fashion. So just be there to help. And I think that eventually it'll guide you to the right people, if that answers that question at all.
It does. And I'm also curious, working with insurance companies, working with builders, does that kind of sound like a race to the bottom? That's at least what I've heard from home builders. Like, you end up having really razor thin margins and you're just doing labor. Is that something that comes into play when you're working with insurance companies, or do they let you breathe a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think, well, it's a great question, right? And I think like the answer is yes and no, but it's also like, you have to understand your numbers. And especially as an owner, you just got to know all of your P&Ls, all of your KPIs, everything that's going on within the business, to understand what the true numbers even look like, right? Like, I don't like the whole, like, I just went to a job, fun enough, the other day with a homeowner, went with us. We were the highest bid on the job, But it's funny. It's like I'm looking at the compared like estimates that I'm seeing from these other roofers, and it's like I could clearly tell that they're just selling a per square price, and it's like
Hmm.
that's just not how numbers properly work. Like if you think, hey, look, 350 a square is what we sell at a square. I'm like, if I look at it, I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna make any money at 350 a square. You know what I mean? It's like I just don't understand how some of these people do the estimates that they do. So I think like it's the same exact concept when you're talking to insurance companies or builders. It's like, what are the numbers that truly work for you? And you got to present them with the numbers. And it's like, these are the reasons why the numbers are where they're at, is because we register every warranty with our jobs that cost money. We make sure that we're backed by billion-dollar corporations that, knock on wood, we go out of business, at least our customers are taken care of and backed by multi-billion-dollar corporations that own the products that are getting installed, right? And it's like explaining these things to the industry is like what's missing in my opinion. So when you're talking to a builder and is razor thin margins, it's like, well, does that work for you? Because if it doesn't, it's not the right partnership. You know what I mean? So those of you that are like that are out there that are like struggling with getting the right margins, I think that they're just afraid to throw the number that actually works for them. You know what I mean? And it's like throw the number out there and say this is what we do it for. Try us out on one job. I don't want the world. And I even tell this to the insurance companies. I'm like, I don't need all of your work. What I do want is for you to tell me what is your pain point and what are you seeing you're losing the most amount of money on, and let me help you there. Let me just do one tarp job for you. Let me show you how well we get there. We're going to get there within the next hour. I don't care where in the state we are. We're going to tarp the house. We're going to bill you so then you know exactly what your cost is and you have all the photos, documentations to go forward with whatever the claim is that they're filing. And it's like if I can just help them on one singular process of a claim, imagine what I can do on every other process of a claim. But it starts with one rather than, hey, give me everything. And it's like, dude, no one's ever going to do that, you know?
Do you guys handle the claim, or do they just already approve the claim and just hand it to you? Like, how does that
It
work?
depends. It depends, right? I think like it's multiple facets. Like it might be to where you're part of the emergency service part of it, where like perfect example, there is a tree that fell on a house. And it's like, well, what does that process look like? The process is get the tree off that structure, you know what I mean? So it's like we will remove the tree. After the tree gets removed, we need to make sure we get a full inspection report, or there's already an insurance adjuster on site ready to perform the adjustment inspection while we're doing what we need to do. After that, we board up the holes on the roof, we tarp it, and that's all we send. That's step one. There is no approval because we have no idea what even happened, right? So once the insurance company gets their information, that's when we stay in communications, and we might do all the other trades as well, where we'll come in and be like, look, clearly this falls within the claim, within the policy, within everything that needs to be happening with the claim. So it's like now we get the approval on, hey, this is approved to do your structural like redesign on the house, get the roof back into pre-storm condition. What does that take? And then we get the assignment, we perform the work. And instead of collecting anything directly from the customer besides the deductible, everything is paid directly by the carrier right into our account because we are a vendor under their program.
That sounds good. I've heard so many horror stories of people. I mean, it's like it happens, but like they'll get their insurance check and then they go buy a motorcycle. And then now 3 months later they're like, I still need my roof fixed. Like
Oh, yeah.
that's an amazing setup, by the way. I've never really heard anyone getting it direct. So you guys are, because like a lot of people talk about fighting with the adjuster. Like, you know what I'm talking about? A lot of people are like, I was fighting with the adjuster and then I got it approved. Like, how do you go about doing that?
There is no fighting with the adjuster. You know what I mean? Because we're at the end of the day, we're partners on their program, and it's like you got to do what's right by number one, the customer. And in my case, I have two customers. I have the actual insured, and I have the insurance company. At the end of the day, both of those are my customers. So it's
Right.
like you got to do what's right for both of them. So realistically, it's like every claim we have to write up the exactament or write up the estimate of whatever it might be, and we have to have a discussion with the adjuster or with whoever's getting the claim approved, and we have to explain every line item to make sure it falls within what needs to get done based off of codes, based off of the policy, based off of what's happening on the claim. And as long as we're on the same page, it's as easy as pushing it through, right? But there's absolutely nothing that could get done without an approval, right? And I think that that's like what a lot of contractors struggle with is understanding what that even looks like. You know what I mean?
So what I'm understanding is you don't really have an approval process. I mean, you do, but like you do the exactament and then you just send it. And then most of the time, because like the way I've understood it, and as a marketing agency, I mean, how well do I know the roofing industry and
Yeah.
actually doing the work? But the way I've understood it is you meet with the adjuster, like you go back and forth in the exactimate, and then they approve it. Is that like how it works with you guys as well,
Yeah,
or
it's
because you have
pretty
that
much the
vendor
exact same,
relationship?
right? Because it's like it's a process that has to be followed, and it's within the
Hmm.
guidelines of what
Okay,
the insurance company has to do. Um, but at the end of the day, like we need to make sure that what we're doing is per code, and it's getting the homeowner back to the pre-loss condition. And how do you
right.
do that? With the proper line items on the exactimate and being able to prove these things to the adjuster on a call, going through the items so then they can approve it on the spot rather than waiting it to get dragged out or anything like that. Or the worst part, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but it's like collecting a check. And it's like, I've heard horror stories of contractors not even being able to recover the depreciation for like a year and a half later. And it's like, or they'll take the insurance company to court and try to settle for a number that like just doesn't even make any sense. And that's just not the world that I live in. And I just want to make sure that like I figure out the best business model to help the industry grow. At the same time, helps us grow from within. So
I've heard that insurance companies are really tough to deal with nowadays, especially with the ACV. I mean, dude, you're in Florida. You guys have it the worst. How have you been like has it still been working? Have the insurance claims been I guess like how has it been on the insurance claims front?
well, it's
ACV
whatever the
and
homeowner has. If the homeowner only has an ACV policy, that's all they have. So it's like, what could I do there? You know what I mean? And it's like the only thing is you get this amount covered by the insurance company, which is great. That's what your policy says. The remaining
Mhm.
amount is out of your pocket, and then you got to pay us direct for that. You know what I mean? So it's like nothing to struggle with there. It's just following the guidelines. So it's a process.
Then have you guys seen a ton of homeowners being like, I don't have $20,000 for a deductible. I don't have,
Absolutely, absolutely, all the time, all the time.
and you can't even finance that because that's fraud. So it's like what happens? Do they just nothing happens? Like they never
Oh,
get
you
it
can you
covered?
can finance your deductible. It's not fraud.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know it was like that. Okay. I
Well, but,
wasn't.
but you have to have the right partnership, right? And it's like some contractors have in-house financing, some contractors utilize a third party, right? Like we use several different, finance companies to go with because, homeowners have to get an approval based off their credit history or wherever they're at, and a certain, credit union might accept them, some of them might not. But you get funded by the finance company, so they are paying their deductible. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Okay. That makes sense. That because I've seen a ton of people who are like, we will cover your deductible, and I know that's
you can't
fraud.
do that. You can't do
So
that.
yeah, yeah. Then
Absolutely.
also, let's kind of dive into what do you do instead of sales reps? Like, how do you do the no sales reps thing? And also, you're all of Florida. You have one headquarter, and I'm pretty sure you also said you're expanding it to two more cities. So how do you like do that with just one headquarter? Like, what's your setup for no sales
Yeah,
reps?
absolutely. I think, well, the AI industry is crazy. So it's like we
Yes.
have to leverage AI. We have a lot of, everything. We don't believe in paper in this office, you know what I mean? Like everything gets ran through the computer that we're in, right? And it's like the right documentation, having your system do things for you like text your homeowners, call your homeowners, leave emails, follow up with getting your work order signed, making sure you're getting the completion form signed. Like if you're just paying somebody to do that, you're missing out on money because you can reinvest that back into systems that could do it for you through AI. So we leverage AI a lot to be able to perform the operational side while no sales reps really like doesn't like I was trying to say earlier, like we don't have sales reps, we have business developers. So you have people like myself, we have Ed, we have Ron, we have Christian, we have people within our organization that actually are sales professionals, but their title is just not a sales rep. They go after big shark, big accounts that give you the work that you need. So
But
that's kind of
yeah,
how we
that's not
scale
like
it.
the
So
that's not the retail salesman we're all used to, which by the way,
correct.
I love the fact that you guys are doing that. Like I have met countless amount of roofing companies still scheduling people on a notebook. So it's like I
Yeah.
really love the fact that you guys are doing any digital stuff for that matter. I mean, what do you guys use in AI in most right now? I've seen some pushback on certain areas using AI. Like what are you guys using
Well,
it
we
for
use
right now?
it strictly through our CRMs, right? And it's like
Okay.
our CRM already has it all established. So it's another thing that you asked me the question like how could you service the entire state of Florida off of one location? It's really because we leverage AI and we leverage the opportunity to still talk to a homeowner like we're talking right now. Like, how many roofers do you know are hopping on a Zoom call with the homeowner and explaining the process to them? It's the exact same thing as being in person, right? In the sense of, is there a difference between sitting at your kitchen table and drinking a coffee together? It's not. But if it's about the sales process, I could do this the exact same way with a customer that's 8 hours away by still signing the contract today. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's what we do a little bit different here is when a claim gets sent to us, we are FaceTiming our customers. We are Teams calling our customers. We go through the process. We have everything getting docu-signed from the office. We get everything notarized from the office. We make sure that everything gets done through the office. And then, of course, the production side is where you need to be hands-on. So that's kind of like what we've mastered here at CoverShield is that process.
So then how do you master that production side when a project might be 6 hours away from your office? Do you
Yep.
just have like a crew that's around there that takes care of it?
Correct. Yep. So we
Okay.
have, of course, our on-site supervision, project managers, foremans that are on the job site, right? So we have people that are in the field, in our trucks, everything like that, being able to project manage these jobs. But we have crews everywhere across the state of Florida. And you got to think like the amount of crews that we have to have our hands on is extreme because we have to do every trade possible. So you got to think like we have tree removals, we have, general contractors, we have roofers, we have flooring guys, drywall guys, texture guys, painters. So it's like some of these claims are, all around, but some of them might be as simple as just fixing drywall, painting, and flooring. It might be as simple as that. You know what I mean? But some of them are complex where we have to do an entire house after it caught fire, So a lot of the time we just make sure that we leverage technology and figure out how to properly manage your people in the field so they can all intermingle and work with each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I figure since you're in Florida, you probably get the most since one hurricane and like an entire neighborhood is leveled. So now you have an entire neighborhood to work on, and I can only imagine what it's like in hurricane season when all the insurance companies are
It's kind
knocking
of
on your
it's kind
door.
of funny because like people say that when a hurricane happens, like a catastrophe happens, it's harder. I honestly think it's an easier way for us to go because I actually claim that we're the best at emergency services. So emergency services, like we want to be there same day, take care of your issues, get you back into your home as quickly as possible. And when a catastrophe happens, it typically happens in a very centralized area. Like the hardest is making sure that like it hits the coast. We're there in that whole vicinity taking care of those customers that are within our platform of partnerships. You know what I mean? Because right now we haven't had a storm in Florida in a long time. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like you're probably seeing a lot of businesses, go out of business because of that. And it's unfortunate, but like you have to just figure out the market and figure out how to work. And this is how we've managed to do it is by doing daily work for under different partnerships. And that's the hard part is I might today be in Miami and then I have another one in Naples. I got another one in Orlando. I got one in Jacksonville. I got one in the Panhandle. And it's like, that's the hardest thing to manage. But we have professionals in our team and we want to make sure that we deliver the best product to our
And not only that, I've heard that the
partners.
insurance companies are leaving too. Like not just the roofing companies. I've heard the insurance companies are leaving, right?
Depends. I think like depends who, right? But you also have the large ones that are kind of taking over all the ones that are gone. You know what I mean? So it's like again, I'm always going to explain it. Every homeowner is going to have insurance. So it's
Hmm.
like even if your insurance company leaves the state, you got to have to choose somebody else. You know what I mean? So I don't see it as a challenge. I see it as an opportunity.
Okay. It's amazing what you guys are doing. I have to be honest. Like with the scale that you guys are doing it, with the amount of people that you guys have and all that. I'd love to step back to when you were a VP and the company didn't work. And I mean, it's not your fault. It was
Yep.
kind of already doing horrible. Like what
It
was the
was already a dumpster
situation when it
fire.
was failing?
Well, funny enough, so like I think that's the problem in our industry too is a lot of companies are getting bought out. What I mean by that is big private equity companies are coming in or people from different industries are coming into the blue collar industry and buying them out because they're seeing the margins that they're either making or they're seeing the processes comparing it to different industries and it's just not the same. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that that's what kind of hurts businesses is not having the proper takeover and the proper due diligence on the back end to make sure that either the purchase went well or there's a plan in place to move forward for the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years as they're scaling. And don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of businesses out there that have done this well. And it's funny, the ones that have done it well are the ones that come from a contracting background. You know what I mean? Especially like in the states like Texas, where the contractors are doing private equity through other contractors, and that's been working. But in my case, it wasn't like that. The company that I worked for was taken over by someone that wasn't part of the industry, and then by the time it got purchased the second time, and I came on with the second purchase, it was already a dumpster fire. So it's kind of funny talking about a company that does well over 100 million, but is not profitable. And that's kind of a hard thing to say, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just because the systems and processes are not properly put in place. And that's what we try to accomplish, especially myself, is put the right teams in place, unfortunately do some layoffs or shut down some offices to try to mitigate and put your overhead as low as possible to eventually get back to a profitable state. And I think it was just way too far gone at that point it was just kind of easier on the investors or owners to just liquidate the company. But it just kind of goes to show it's kind of funny, like even mentioning 8 figures or mentioning 10 figures, whatever it might be. I think that the priority should be like, you should be proud of your systems rather than what you're doing a year, right? Because you could easily say like, oh, I'm an 8-figure contractor, but if you're only profiting 5% and you don't know your true numbers, are you truly like a 10-figure company? You're really not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and it kind of also goes to show, like, I feel like some people have the limiting belief, like, no way I could do 9 figures, do 180, but then like
What's out there?
9-figure companies have like zero processes. It's like chaos, and nobody even knows how we even got here. But now we're
Yep.
here.
And it's
It's
kind of
like
funny. I can
chaos.
tell you the story. When I went in to this company on a second purchase with as much money as they were making, they were still signing contracts under pen and paper. The systems itself was not properly like, pulling the right imagery, ordering the right materials, putting things on schedule properly, making sure and this is crazy to even say, but it's like the proper supervisors or people in the field were not even allowed to go on the roof. And it's like, well, how do you know the quality is correct? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's the small things that add up. You know what I mean? And the warranty department in the company was spending millions of dollars a month because of bad production. And I think that that's like what kind of hurts is it doesn't take long until it becomes a big problem. And that's what I kind of had to go into. So it was good. It was a great learning experience. And I think it led me to understand what truly needs to get done as a company scales. And I think that all of that comes into, like, again, right systems, right operation, and the right people.
Yeah, and even with like 180, how did you even grow to do that much and not let people on the roof? How did you do that and have poor production, have poor processes? It's just like,
It's
how did you
madness,
even
man.
get here?
Yeah, it's
Then
madness.
what did you see going wrong that you would do? Like, is it just the processes that you would change if you were in there, or what would
Absolutely.
you do
No, and
different?
we
Yeah.
did. I think that we did actually like achieve what the company truly should have done back when it got purchased the first time around. But because it was already way too far gone, it would take, tens of millions of dollars of investors back to ensure that it was back where it needed to go. And I think that the funds were just not there to get it to where it needed to be. But the processes that we put in place is, of course, like fix your production, fix your
Hmm.
sales process, and fix how to like get more deals closed quicker utilizing AI, utilizing a call center, utilizing the systems in place to actually sell quicker rather than like having a schedule full of reps that have to go in person to close it all day long. You know what I mean? So I think there was like setting up these different systems is what truly helped the company get in a better state, you know?
I've also seen plenty of success with virtual sales.
Oh yeah,
Is that,
that's
yeah, like I've heard
that's
like
great.
even retail. I didn't know that was a thing. I think there was a guy named Cody who did this. He sold his company and he only did virtual sales.
Oh
Which,
wow.
like, do you guys do that at all,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
did you do that back then at that
We
180?
were, we were, we had about 60 in-house like a call center team that
Hmm.
was part of it. So we did do a lot of virtual sales in that aspect of things, and a lot of it came from, of course, like buying leads or a referral program that might have came in, and it's like that process, again, it's a process and it's doing it the right way and giving the customer the experience that they still need to choose you. Because again, like a retail job is way different than an insurance claim job, where you're now
Mhm.
asking somebody over the phone or over the FaceTime call, hey, use this payment link. You owe us now 20 grand for your roof. It's way different than being like, hey, you owe us $1,500 for your deductible. You know what I mean? So it's a
Right, and
complete
that's
different system, complete different operation.
I've also seen a ton of people who will only push insurance because they have the limiting belief that people don't have 20 grand. I
Right.
actually spoke with somebody over the phone. I think I cold called him, and I was like, "Why don't you do retail?" He's like, "People don't have money anymore." It's like they do. Like the
Oh,
biggest
yeah.
companies are doing retail, like they have money. I don't know if that was ever something that
And it's funny because I come from another country. Like I was born and raised in a different country, and coming to America, like I think the one thing that people don't notice either is, dude, look around all the cars that are driving around you.
right.
And that should give you the answer. Most cars on the road, I'm not even joking. I think a new study just came out that the average monthly payment on a car is getting about to $800 a month. And to me, that is wild because then you got to compare to what's the average national salary, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
I'm not sure what it is right now. I don't want to give like false facts, but you know what I mean? You have to compare. And what that tells me is people do have money. It's just they got to buy the right thing and they got to buy the thing that fits them. How do you think
Hmm.
solar companies became so massive? It's because it was something that was nice to have at an affordable rate and it was all done monthly through financing. Why not do that through your roofing process? Or with us, I most of our bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels that we do are 90% financed. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And it's like, instead of you handing me 30, 40 grand for your brand new kitchen, let's just put you on a monthly payment right now. This monthly payment doesn't even kick on until 12 months from now. So you're going to have a kitchen for practically free for the next 12 months. You can either pay that off by the end of 12 months if you have the funds and you have zero interest, or you want to keep the payments, enjoy your 12 months, and then you just do your monthly payments starting after the 12 months. You'll have somewhat of an APR, somewhat of a dealer fee, but at the end of the day, you're enjoying something that you have, and now you're just paying it on a monthly basis, and you can reinvest the remaining funds on something else that you want, and it's advantage for everybody. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the tricks that, we have, and it's not really a trick. It's like we're just providing what's best for the customer. So,
Yeah, having good financing is your offer as a retail company. If you don't have good
oh yeah.
financing, you're gonna keep struggling and saying, "Oh, we're not closing anyone.
Absolutely. And
We're not
and
making
look,
any
and
sales."
not a lot of companies out there even have the right partners with finance companies. So like, look, I hand out as much knowledge as possible to people. If you want me to connect you to finance companies, do you want to like partner with finance companies? There's a lot of them out there. You just need to know the right people. So let me get you to the right person to get you an account and, get you started.
Is there any sort of advice you'd give to a roofing company owner, or you'd give to you when you had started this?
That's a good question. So I would say it starts with you. Don't like I think a big mistake that I've made, even with Cover Shield, it's hiring too fast.
Hmm.
What I mean by that, it's like if you're not putting boots on the ground and getting shit done yourself, why should you even hire other people to do it for you? Because at the end of the day, it all starts with leadership and it starts with the right culture. And if you cannot put the blood, sweat, and tears into your own company to get shit done, how would you ever expect others to do it? And I think that that's where it all starts. Like I am still boots on the ground. I'm in the field. I'm doing shit. I'm going out and actually getting, the right contracts in place and scaling the company myself where I could easily hire people to come do what I do. But I don't want to do that because I want to get to a point where I actually need to. You know what I mean? I'm young, I'm hungry, I can get shit done. I think that that should be advice for every owner starting their company, and would love feedback from other owners if they kind of see the same thing or have made the mistake that I've made of like maybe hiring too fast, right? Um, so
And one thing, I know we're gonna wrap this up here in a second. One thing, because I remember speaking to somebody who they actually liked roofing so much, they were the owner and they were roofing the roofs. Is
oh
there
wow,
ever like a situation where like you have to hire? Like when should you hire then?
it's a good question. I think it's calendar management and
Okay.
understanding what you're good at and what you're not good at. What I mean by that is this. Look, I could I could definitely go on any roof, inspect, pick up materials, talk to a homeowner, sign a contract, pull a permit, those kind of things. But as soon as you hand me a nail gun, oh my God, that's not my forte. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? So like, let me hire somebody to do that part. So I think that that's important, but it's also understanding like, when is it time to bring someone on is when you just do not have the time to do it. Like if you would ask me like, could you like nail the roof? Absolutely. Could I figure it out? Yes. Let me go get a certification. Let me get it done. But then that hinders me from scaling the company, right? And it's like bringing the right people in place is when you're just like, I do not have time to do this. So it's a lot of calendar management. If any owner comes to me and it says, look, I have all these clients, I have all of these employees that work for me. Well, look, that's great, but let me see your calendar. What are you doing as the owner? What does your day look like from 5 in the morning to 10 in the morning? What does your day look like from 10 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Guess what? The day's still going. What are you doing from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 o'clock at night? If you don't have that laid out every day, I kind of am fearful, you as an owner, how your employees view you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
people can tell when you're not putting in the effort. You're just owner and you're on a vacation. Now, where could someone find you and learn more about Cover Shield, learn more about you? Like where could someone find you?
oh, absolutely. No, great. I think that the best way to find me is through my email, right? So like emailing me is probably the best approach. So it's nathan.recalde@covershieldUSA.com. You could learn more about Cover Shield through our website, www.covershieldUSA.com. And you can find us on socials too. So you could always hit us up on Instagram or LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. Um,
Sick.
but
I'll
that's kind of
link
the
it
best
down
way to
below.
get us.
Yeah, I'll link it down below, and I really appreciate you coming on, Nate.
Dude, appreciate your time and what you're doing too. So keep up the good work on your end. And at the end of the day too, this is a great way to scale your businesses is through lead generation. So I know that you sell leads and you do your thing there. So looking forward to how we could continue to work together and bring a different branch to my departments and what we're doing.